Okay, my name is Andrew Long. I work as a social development advisor on the Yemen programme. The main area of work that we're involved with in Yemen is supporting the Social Fund for Development, which is an infrastructure and community-driven development agency that's supported by government, the national government, the government of Yemen. It's also supported by a range of donors, including the World Bank, the EC, the Dutch, and so on, and the Gulf Cooperation Council donors, Saudi Fund, Kuwaiti Fund. And it is involved in delivering infrastructure services in health and in education, in roads, in water and sanitation, and is increasingly involved in developing approaches to economic empowerment through microcredit, and increasingly looking at its contributions to agricultural development. It targets about 7.5 million individuals, half of whom are women, and works nationally throughout the Yemen in all 21 governorates. Recently, we were fortunate enough to be able to visit the field to see what the Social Fund has been doing to address the food price crisis that hit badly over the last 12 months or so, and has been involved in a $19 million fund that's largely funded by the World Bank and the EC to look at cash transfers for what they call labour-intensive works, but it's essentially a cash for work programme that is targeting, through community targeting, particularly vulnerable families and individuals who are working on rehabilitating terraces for agricultural practice, rehabilitating or developing for the first time rural feeder roads, addressing water and flooding issues, again through a Food for Work programme. And we learned that although the main objective of the programme was to provide cash for particular individuals, in fact there were a whole series of value-added benefits coming to communities because of the infrastructure that this Cash for Work programme had been helping to rehabilitate, really. So terraces, for example, are critical for managing surface water and for are a central part of people's livelihoods based on agriculture. 70% of the country lives in rural areas. 80% of the poor live in rural areas. People in the Yemen are generally heavily reliant on agriculture and ancillary services. So spending some money on providing additional cash for food insecure households has a benefit for public good in a much wider way. And in roads, for example, some of the villagers that we spoke to had said that the rehabilitation of a feeder road had actually, for the very first time, allowed for vehicles to come to their village, providing them with opportunities to get to healthcare when needed, to access school services. But it also, interestingly, and perhaps more importantly, brought in traders from outside who could bring fodder and water tankers into the area that had previously been completely inaccessible to them. And the community in this area near Taiz in the Central Highlands had actually continued to build the roads themselves after the Cash for Work programme had come to an end, to try and link some of the more remote communities with the feeder road that had been developed under this programme. And in consequence, it was very interesting to see that a programme based on a cash transfers objective could have a whole series of value added in terms of economic opportunities for people who live in what is a very isolated rural community.